Hey everyone. So for our guests tonight, our meetings usually involve three major things: a review of the roles and prepared speeches, table topics, and the evaluation portion of our meeting. And so now we're in the first third of our meeting. So could we hear from the grammarian and off counter, please, what the role entails? Oh, okay, my bad. I thought we were separate. I thought we were together today. Okay.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and the role that I have responsibility for is a grammarian. And basically, I listen to the speeches, whether they're prepared or table topic, and I listen for any misuses of the English language. And then I'll just notate those, and then at the end, I'll give a report. Word of the day. And the word of the day is a triage. Definition is my job.
While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and talk about the counter. I'll be looking for filler words such as so, things like that, and keeping track of that. So, I also call myself.
In medical use, the assignment of degrees of urgency to wounds or illnesses to decide the order of treatment of a large number of patients or casualties. The process of determining the most important people or things from amongst a large number that require attention. That's triage.
What was it? Assignment of degree?
Degrees of urgency to wounds or illnesses. Are basically to determine the most important people or things amongst a large number.
So it's a verb.
It is.
Okay. Or process now.
Yeah, well, it could be a description. It's a verb, but it also could be an adjective, like a triage nurse.
Okay.
So I don't know what the Jones Act is, Maurice, but I'll be pretty impressed if you can finagle that word in today.
The Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're doing the Jones Act again?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm doing the other side.
Oh, okay.
Is the Jones Act in any way, shape, or form involved with medicine?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, all right. This will be a good challenge.
We're only as
You could
far
definitely
as
triage it though.
Yes.
That's for sure.
yes.
All right. Okay, so we've heard from the grammarian and the counter so far. Could we hear from the timer, please?
The timer will keep track of how long the table topics are, as well as how long the speeches are, and the evaluation of speeches. The table topics are 1 minute to 2 minutes. The speech is 5 minutes to 7 minutes, and the evaluation is, I believe, 2 minutes to 3 minutes. Is that right?
Yes, you don't have one of these?
No. So at 1 minute, for example, for table topics, you'll see a green light. At a minute and a half, you'll see a yellow light. So that's about kind of what you want to aim for. And at 2 minutes, you'll see a red light. So you should kind of wrap up. That's what the timer does.
Thanks, Heather. And last but not, oh, I'm sorry, we have two more rules to go over. Can we hear from the table topics master tonight? Cody.
So the table topics master's job is to come up with questions to ask fellow Toastmasters and guests if you'd like to attend. And these are impromptu questions. So sometimes I might ask the question ahead of time and let a volunteer choose that question, or just ask a volunteer and then they read the question and have to come up with a response, on the way up to the lectern. So it's a fun part of the meeting, and I highly recommend it, yes, to give it a try. If you maybe watch a couple people and give it a shot. So, thank you.
Thanks, Cody. And last but not least, can we hear from our general evaluator tonight?
The general evaluator's job is to oversee the evaluation of our meeting and also the other evaluators. So the general evaluator will introduce the timer, the counter, and the grammarian to give their evaluation of the meeting, and then also to do a basic evaluation of how the meeting went in general.
Thanks, Lawrence. Okay, so now we're going to transition into our prepared speeches, portion of our meeting tonight. Maurice has been a regular attendee of all these Toastmasters meetings. And 2 weeks ago, he explained some arguments against the Jones Act, and today he's going to talk about some aspects of the Jones Act in favor of it. So without further ado, let's welcome Maurice to the lecture.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, as Diego said, 2 weeks ago, I presented a speech about the Jones Act, the definition of it, and what it all entails, and why it should be either repealed or reorganized. This week, based on a couple articles that I've read, I'm going to argue for the Jones Act. And before I go any further, the opinions expressed in this speech are not necessarily the opinions of me or anyone else here. With that, the Jones Act is also called the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, and it was established just after World War I to protect the marine industry in the United States. This was made so that shipments between U.S. ports, whether in a contiguous state or between a contiguous state and a non-contiguous land, such as Hawaii or Alaska or Puerto Rico, would be manned only by, or 75% manned by American citizens. Also, U.S. flagged, and there's a couple other things that would benefit the American marine industry. As expressed in the last speech, around the year 1946, there was approximately 4,600 ships, U.S. flagged, under the Jones Act, providing shipments between U.S. ports. But now it's around 100 or a little less than 100. The thing that prompted the fight or the argument against the Jones Act most recently is the disaster in Puerto Rico in 2017, the 2 hurricanes. There were allegedly problems of having products shipped to Puerto Rico in the wake of the hurricane. Now I'm going to get to the arguments that support the Jones Act. Based on these 2 articles, claims that the Puerto Rico hurricane recovery drastically affected the shipment to Puerto Rico are absurd. They waned a little bit right after hurricane, but as the shipments resumed, things got back to normal. And another argument is that citizens of Puerto Rico, mainly inland, away from the ports, aren't getting the goods that they need. But this is due to disorganization within the country, not the Jones Act. Another claim is that the Jones Act, or due to the Jones Act, cost of goods are increased in the non-contiguous territories of the United States, such as Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, Guam, etc. this is nonsense because in comparison to other islands that the U.S. don't own, the prices are about the same. If not, or else a little more, but not significantly more. Another argument for the Jones Act is this country's national security, because foreign vessels, if they were allowed to just bring in shipments to the United States and go inland to other ports, let's say riverside, like the Mississippi River, they may not be properly vetted. The crew may not be properly vetted. And there's a possibility that terrorists may be on the ships if foreign vessels are allowed to come inland, to inland ports. So these are some of the arguments in support of the Jones Act, such as preserving our nation's national security. And it's better for the military because there is a pool of mariners. Even though they may be civilian, it provides a pool of skilled people in the marine industry, just in case of war. And one more point is the military won't be forced to build ships if there is a strong shipping industry in the United States. So those are some of the arguments in favor of the Jones Act. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Maurice. I really enjoyed your good explanation on the Jones Act, and I think it was really, really poignant of you to summarize your main topics, because I noticed in my experience, at least, when it comes to any topics on legislative matters, it can get really, really long-winded and very hard to understand with all the legislative jargon. So excellent work on that front. We did not assign a second prepared speech, did we? No, we did. Okay. All right. So we're going to transition into.
Could I give just a little bit of extra information on that, because this is a thing that's very close to my heart.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
If that's okay with the club.
Yeah, yeah. Let's welcome Lauren to the stage.
Seeing as I am a professional mariner by trade, I am very familiar with the do's and don'ts of the Jones Act. I don't disagree with the possibility that the Jones Act could be revised to fit a little bit of more of the modern capabilities. But the core of the Jones Act should not change. And as Maurice said, there are a lot of reasons why you should have a domestic maritime trade. The one thing that he did not mention about shipments between U.S. ports in Jones Act is not only are they U.S. flagged and U.S. crewed, they have to be 90% U.S. built. So they could have some components, say engines or certain parts of them fabricated overseas and then brought to the United States, but they have to be assembled, and also the majority of the materials have to be built here, which includes U.S. steel, includes U.S. components, which includes U.S. Many other U.S. industries. So there's a lot more to it than just, a few boats that are being built. Now, in the situation in Puerto Rico, I was still involved with the maritime industry at that time. And I heard all the arguments directly as they were happening. And one of the big issues was not only that U.S. Vessels were not getting there. The problem was the harbors were filled with debris. So of course, when the houses get washed out because of a flood, where do they go? They go into the rivers. Where do the rivers go? Into the harbors. So the harbors were filled with debris. So that means foreign ships couldn't have got in there either. And then the powers that be in Washington gave Puerto Rico a waiver, which is perfectly legal for foreign ships to come in. Well, the foreign ships were coming in, and because there were a certain number of foreign ships, there was less American ships involved. The Rapid Ready Fleet could have, within a few weeks, have supplied them with everything they need. Okay, and then as he mentioned, the transportation infrastructure was what stopped the materials from getting off of the beach and into the inland villages. And then one thing that I also want to mention, if you remember, if you ever saw the history of the Second World War, there were more merchant mariners killed in the Second World War than any other branch of the military, because the merchant marines were the ones that supplied all of the weapons, the troops, and everything else between the United States and Europe. And so obviously that was a prime target for the German U-boats. So it's not just a matter of supporting the troops from the U.S. side, but also they're the ones that have to supply it. So he did a really good job of covering that, but I just wanted to add those few points because they are critical to the safety and the well-being of the United States, and I felt that they should be addressed. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thanks, Lawrence. And we're really thankful that you could have been here tonight, because we wouldn't have gotten those important viewpoints if you hadn't been here tonight. So thank you for those important perspectives. All right, now we're going to transition into the table topics portion of our meeting, and that will be spearheaded by Cody.
Do I have a first volunteer for tonight? Or would you like me to question first? All right, Sean, all right. What makes you weird?
The question is, what makes me weird? This is gonna gross people out a little bit, but when I take my shoes off at night, I like to give my feet a little foot rub. So it's just something that kind of just gets me to relax. But I wash my hands like frequently, so it's, you know, if y'all don't think I just rub my feet and then don't wash my hands. So my wife thinks that's weird. But you know, I don't know, maybe other people do that. That's all I can think of. Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Sean, for sharing that with us. And, I mean, I'm sure I don't personally do that, but maybe somebody else in the club does. All right, who would like to go next? You would like to go? Okay. All right, good. Who impresses you? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Austin. A lot of people impress me. I would like to say that my mother is someone who really gives a great impression. My mother is the very example of what I would want to be in a woman, and she displays great leadership. Someone else that impresses me is the people that are in our government. I think they deal with a lot of things as far as the rights of the people, how people feel, dealing with the voting, dealing with people trying to get them to vote. So that's very impressive. And last but not least, one more person that impresses me is the managers at my job. They give a great impression. They impress me because they deal with the attitudes. They deal with people coming in late. They have to fill in the shoes of everyone else who are slacking on the job. They are just great people to me. So that's it.
Did a great job. Way better than my first time coming out here. It's almost like a prepared speech. All right, who'd like to go next? Here you go. Do you like the city or town you live in? Why or why not?
Thanks, Cody. So my only regret about this question is I can't think of a way how to use triage in this speech. But that aside, so the question that has been asked is, what do I think about the city that I live in? Do I like it? Do I not like it? And I think this is a very difficult question for me to answer because I still have mixed feelings about this city. What I do like about this city is it is very sleepy and tranquil and calm. And I really think that's something that I would like in my life. Being able to know that my city is still the same way that it is, not a lot of important action going on. But for someone like me who also likes new things to experience and big events that are going on, that is something that comes with the fact of living in a calm city. So I'm really 50-50 on this city. But I do think I'm more cut out for this calm city life because I recently took my mom to Birmingham last week for an important public health meeting, and just my few minutes of experiencing Birmingham and the different kind of culture shock that I had there in the day that I was there. Granted, it's not a full representation of what Birmingham life is like. I still wanted to go back to Mobile in the short period of time that I was in Birmingham. So I think, despite the mixed feelings that I have, I think I'm okay with Mobile. Mr. Tabletop Toastmaster.
Thanks, Diego. Well, you're getting to move, right? Eventually, just to a new city. Are you staying here? Yeah.
No. Hopefully, I will be in a different city for the doctoral program. Yeah.
All right, who would like to go next? Lawrence. Okay. Lawrence, what will you never give up on?
My fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, there are many things that I will never give up on. Probably the key thing that any one of us should never give up on is ourselves. We should not give up on ourselves because we have the potential for accomplishing many of the things that we want to accomplish. But 99% of the time, the reason we don't accomplish those things is because we gave up on ourselves. So, that also leads to a second thing that you don't want to give up on. You don't want to give up on love. Now, part of not giving up on yourself is going to be loving yourself. We all have these little issues, and we always seem to make those little issues into giant, monstrous things hiding under our bed that are going to strangle us and keep us from doing anything. And so then we can learn to not love ourselves because of those little things that became big things, like Dr. Seuss said, you know, making outlandish tales, turning minnows into whales, right? Well, you want to not give up on love. So oftentimes that means you have to triage your own thinking and operate on the ones that are the most urgent. Mr. Topic Master.
Good time for a few more. Who'd like to go next? Grace? What is your favorite sound?
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, the question that is posed to me, what is my favorite sound? And because of the shortness of time, I won't dwell too much trying to pick one. I'll just say light to medium music, just to get that out of the way. To me, that is soothing. Music that's not too soft or too hard, but the music I listen to depends on the mood that I'm in most of the time. So it could be a little harder, it could be a little softer, but most of the time, my favorite sound is a light to medium tone of music, Mr. Topic Master.
Last one. What has fear of failure stopped you from doing? What has fear of failure stopped you from doing?
Thank you for the guest and intro. It's a very nice to be here. My question was, what has not came out of the question, please?
Yeah, what has the fear of failure stopped you from doing?
So you hold the question, what does fear has stopped me from doing? Well, actually, the main thing that's important to me is my uncle. And my uncle has a big impact on me. And because of him, he has taught me not to give myself all out. It might be hard. So my uncle is a triage of lung cancer. He died Friday at 8 a.m. So he really helped me what is feeling on and what is not. And what is feeling on to me is not doing what your parents were saying. Having what it has not is death. What is statistically, people all afraid of death, and that's what I'm afraid of. And to me, afraid of failure is like a feeling of death. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you really boil down any fear of failure, it kind of goes to that. If you keep, what I'm afraid of this and that, ultimately, it's the fear of death.
Well, actually, the funeral's this week, this Thursday, and it's not easy. Also, I'm sorry.
Yes, well, it's you, you're,
So that ends our portion of table topics. I would now like to welcome Diego back to the lecture.
Thanks so much, Cody. All right, gang, so we finished the prepared speeches, we finished the table topics portion of our meeting, and now we're going to transition into our evaluation portion of our meeting, which will be spearheaded by Lawrence. Please come forward.
thank you. Yeah, so far we've had a very good meeting, and we started on time and have continued following right in on time. So we're going to continue with that through the rest of the meeting. And so as the general evaluator, it's my responsibility to give everyone who has done some portion of evaluation an opportunity to present to the club. And so this educational part of our program is very valuable to the mission of Toastmasters, because we are all here for a purpose, and whether that's purpose is leadership, speaking ability, developing our own confidence, or whatever, all of the above, then we want to learn how we have done it. So very often we get an opportunity to be evaluated, and those evaluations are supposed to cover both things that you have done well and things that can be improved. And so our first speaker this morning, or this evening, was Maurice, and his speech is going to be evaluated by Tom. So Tom, would you like to come and evaluate the speech?
It's interesting that that's how you presented this, because that was a little bit of what I was going to say. You guys get Toastmaster magazine at all? Okay, have you looked at this month's issue yet? There's an article in there, and I forget which article it is, but there's a quote from someone named Howard Hendrick. It said, "Experience doesn't make you better. Only evaluated experience makes you better." And that's the hallmark of Toastmasters, is the evaluation. And evaluation is like performing triage on a speech. So Maurice, I get to perform triage on your speech, but I really like the speech. You obviously are very knowledgeable about the topic. I was not here when you spoke about the other side, the negative of it, but it's very clear that you know what you're talking about. Two things that I would work on. Sometimes your sentences are a little broken up, and it's like you're searching for the proper word to use. If you could smooth that out a little bit, using proper pacing and timing of the speech would be very effective. That was and I've noticed that in the past. The second thing is, if you could work on your hand gestures. You're very good at gestures, but sometimes it's a lot. So if you can work on controlling those hand gestures, I think that would help the speech tremendously. And then the fact that I really like the fact that you explained the Jones Act at the beginning of your speech, because I did not know what the Jones Act was. I had heard on the news about all the differences between the administration in Puerto Rico and all the complaining that was going back and forth, and they didn't really know what was going on. But you explained it very well, and you explained it in a way that's easily understandable. Sometimes people will get up and they assume that everybody has the same amount of knowledge about a topic that you do, and then they tend to use language that only people that know the topic would understand. But you gave the speech in a way that is easily understandable by everybody, particularly me, and I really appreciate that very much. Very, very, very well done. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, I also felt that this speech was very well done, and I don't really know how much you knew about the Jones Act, but I do. Actually, having the opportunity to hear both of those speeches, I can see that you have researched it very well. It would be kind of interesting to get a third speech on what your actual opinion is now that you've researched both ends. But that may be for another speech on another day. But I did very much enjoy that speech, and as I did the other one, even though I didn't agree with most of what they said. But so be it. Now, our next opportunity is going to be for our timer. Our timer was Heather, and would you like to give your evaluation of the meeting?
Maurice's speech was 6 minutes and 48 seconds. Lawrence's speech was 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Moving on to the table topics, Sean did 51 seconds. Diego, 1 minute and 41 seconds. Maurice, 56 seconds. Brianna, 1 minute and 4 seconds. Lawrence, 1 minute and 55 seconds. Donovan, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. And then for the evaluation, Tom, you were at 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. And now for the grammar police. We're going to have our counter first to give us a evaluation of how well we did.
Here's the counting for tonight. In Maurice's speech, I did not notice any ahs. Lawrence, I heard 10 uhs. I had 2 you-knows. Brianna, none. I had none noticed for you. Diego, none noticed for you. Lawrence, none noticed on the table topics. Now, Maurice, 0 on the table topics, and then Donovan had 1 on the last table topic. And that's my counter summary.
All right, and now we'd like to ask Olivia to give us a evaluation of the word of the day and the grammar report.
Okay, the word of the day, Lawrence, yours was 1 time. Diego said triage once. Donovan once. I'm sorry, Diego, Donovan. And then Thomas said triage. And then for the errors, Maurice, you said, but as I was sitting here writing it, I was thinking, well, let me think about that. You said U.S. don't own, and immediately I thought that the U.S. doesn't own.
Okay.
But is U.S. singular or plural?
Singular.
United States. If it's singular, then you were correct. U.S. don't own. But I immediately thought of United States as being plural, and I said that the U.S. doesn't own. So I'm going to take a look at that. Let me see.
I think, well, yeah, look at it. I'm sorry.
Okay. And Lawrence, you said could have supplied them with everything they need. And your sentence was past tense, but need is present tense. So I put that it should have been could have supplied them with everything they needed. Past tense.
Yeah.
Oh, U.S. is singular. So U.S. don't own. Doesn't sound right, but according to this, United States is a singular word, so don't goes in singular. That's all I have.
Okay, so that is the end of our evaluation program, and I will now relinquish the lectern back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, and thank you everyone tonight for providing your important feedback and critiques on this meeting and the different portions of our meeting. Do we have an education overview tonight? All right, Cody's going to tell us, going to enlighten us with some educational overview tonight.
This is from the magazine, Toastmasters magazine, I'm not sure which month. But the article is about volume, getting loud. So the benefits of volume. This is interesting. I never really thought about it. That changing, the pitch and the volume of your voice can have other impacts besides just sound. So it keeps you from mumbling. There's no such thing as a loud mumbler. That's important. So if you tend to mumble and lower your voice, it'll stop you from doing that. It keeps you at an even pace. I guess because you're exerting so much breath, and you know, when you become louder, it's harder to maybe speed up. I guess you could slow down a little bit, but it would keep you at an even pace. And invites more pauses for the same reason. You're using more breath when you speak louder, so you're gonna want to pause more. And it helps you end sentences with periods instead of question marks. So talking loud keeps you from kind of ending with a, well, could it be, or things like that. So that was a couple interesting points for speaking with volume. I mean, we're in a small room, so we can't get too loud here, but maybe that's a nice tip for speaking to like a mic audience where you can be kind of as loud as you want because it's going to be over a PA system of some sort. That's an educational overview for tonight. And I think we have an award, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is for, oh, thank you. So I have the honor of presenting Advanced Communicator Silver to Maurice Heidelberg. So let's congratulate Maurice.
Let's get a photo by the... All right, let me make sure you guys are placed properly.
So I get the logo.
Yeah. How about we move you guys over to its left? Oh, together, both of you. Let's see if this will work. Hang on, it's warming up, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna take photos. Okay, great.
Jeez.
Oh, excellent. Okay. One of these will be great.
All right, thank you.
Let me correct myself, please. I'm sorry. When I should have said that properly, but singular is doesn't. So plural is don't. I had to use it in the word. So he doesn't, and the plural would be they don't. So I was wrong in what I call myself correcting, but you did say it wrong. So singular should have been the U.S. doesn't.
All
Right.
Thank you.
Plural is don't. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
Okay.
Pardon me.
All right, so that is all. We had one award tonight. So Diego's award should be in the mail for his competent communicator. We submitted it, so maybe next meeting we'll get to present that to Diego. Lawrence, did you want to take roles for next week?
Yeah, I can't seem to get online. But anyways, is there anybody who has something that they want to do next week?
I will do a prepared speech
Okay,
next week, and I will commit to that.
you're committed. We got you. Anybody else have something? What would you like to do?
Prepared speech.
Oh, woo, good. We're gonna have two speeches.
Can I make sure I go
again.
before her so we don't follow her?
No, 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 no. We're gonna have to put you afterwards. Ladies first. All right, we'll let you be number one. All right, anybody else gonna be here next week and knows that they want to do some particular exciting event? Going once, going twice, but if you decide later in the week that you have something you want to do, please get on the Easy Speak website and plug yourself in so that we can make sure that you get what that is, because at the end of the week, I'm going to do like I mentioned, I'm just going to nominate you for whatever position, and when you get elected to that position, well, that's the way it is.
You can put me down for table topics.
Ah, good, table topics. Okay,
Just making sure he doesn't get Toastmaster.
what's that?
So he's covering himself, make sure he doesn't get auto-selected as Toastmaster.
Ah, I see, that's good.
Oh, that's right.
Good.
Sean, you still haven't been Toastmaster, I noticed.
Yeah, but that's okay. When you're ready, you'll be there.
Okay.
We're not gonna push you into it, at least not too hard. We'll push you, but not too hard. Because you gotta step out of that comfort zone, or else you, what did you say last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? You said you step into your, if you're in your comfort zone, and wasn't that you that gave that
I don't
speech?
think so.
Who was it that said that? If you're in your comfort zone, and you never move ahead when you're in your comfort zone.
David, the guest, or
Yeah, maybe it was a guest that time. You never move ahead when you're in your comfort zone, and you're never in your comfort zone if you're moving ahead. Something like that. I forget what it was, but.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Great meeting.
Okay, one more thing.
Oh, got it.
I seem to misplace it. I had a copy of the distinguished club achievements with Diego's competent communicator. We're now at 7. We still have to attain at least 19 members, and we're at, well, soon as Justin processes another new membership, we'll be at 16. But we have 7 goals met, which would put us at select distinguished if we have the required membership. And Lawrence, I have a question for you.
Okay.
This only has one level 1 achieved, but I know there's at least 2 people who have level 1 achieved.
Okay.
So what do we have to do to get the next one?
Well, they have to be, some of them may not have been,
Those are the 2 level ones.
some of them may not have been logged into Toastmasters in general. And I will have to take a look at that and see what did not get put on Toastmasters. Because theoretically, we should have definitely had everybody on
It's
Toastmasters.
just Lawrence and I, we both officially did it pathway, so it should register.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there should be a couple of
Yes, it should be a couple, but
should be
there's
at
only
least a
one
couple of
registered.
And
possibly, now I don't know, maybe Susan, she may have possibly done 4.
She did her last.
But anyway, we need to get that situated.
I just want to ask, if we don't have 19 members, all these accomplishments are null and void?
No, yes.
Okay, okay.
well,
Oh, that's good.
they're not null and void. We still have those accomplishments. Don't put it that way. We are not like, well, we didn't do it, so didn't do anything. No, that all it means is that we will not get the distinguished award for this time. Those accomplishments will still be there. It's just they cannot be used for future distinguished programs.
I
We
see.
have to go from, at the end of each session or each year, the counter is moved to 0.
Gotcha.
So we still keep our accomplishments. They just don't get we don't get the
It'll
ribbon.
become a distinguished club for this
Gotcha.
year.
Okay.
So they don't get negated. They just don't count towards future distinguished programs.
So we need 3 more members by when? The end of June?
In June.
End of June. Yes.
Okay.
So we still have a month and a bit,
Mhm.
month and a half.
That'd be open house.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, open house,
Second week in June.
second week of June.
Right. 'cause
Okay,
Memorial Day.
yeah, open house second week of June. Now, remember, I don't know if I missed the beginning of it. Did you talk about the award, or if we have an open house, what this
They'll pay for-
district will do for us?
Pay for a membership. or
Yeah.
something.
If we have a member somebody that wants to join from an open house, they will, did they tell you for sure which they would do? What they would do? Did they say, I know they said at
I
least
think
one, but I
they're-
thought they said maybe 2.
I think their
One or
membership
two.
would be paid for, is that
Yes.
by the district?
Yes, that's what they said.
Yes.
That the district can do that. The club cannot, but the district can. So, and I figured if he said 1 or 2. I know he said 1, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure
at
if he
least
said
one,
2.
if not more.
And they'll be paid for 6 months.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's very appealing.
and so that's enough to get somebody started and get them to really enjoy the program and maybe become a permanent member of our club.
With that, I'll relinquish and let turn back to the president.
Thank you, Maurice. And now we will officially end the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
I will look over that and see what we need to do.